SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with my man, E. E, how are you doing today?
Oh, I am excited for our topic and excited to be back on Around the Table with you today, Bob.
Oh, yeah, this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E, I am the Fat Man, and we talk about whatever we want every Sunday afternoon, I guess you can say. Evening, depends on where you're at in the world, I guess. I don't know. Well, we gotta, I guess all of our episodes are special because it's us.
That's true.
But we got an episode today. The April player rankings are going to be coming out tomorrow. And I guess we're going to talk about our favorites to rise, our favorites to fall.
Oh, yeah. You got to. I mean, and people are going to be moving all over the place. I mean, one thing that these April released rankings are going to show is that nobody knew what they were talking about before the season started. You know, things are going to go up, things are going to go down. And, you know, I think we're going to get into today some of our favorite risers and fallers, but we could probably, this show could be hours long.
Oh yeah,
today if we wanted to,
but it's not going to be.
No, whew, thank God.
Well, let's say so. We're each going to have. I'll say we're both going to have 3 risers. We're both going to have 3 fallers. I assume at the end of it, we're probably really going to only have like 4 risers and 4 fallers because we're going to. Great minds think alike. We always have.
Some names, yeah.
We always cross on our opinions.
That's right.
So how about I will let you go. I will let you have the honors of going first so that I do not take one of your riser picks.
Ooh, it's your honor, like that line from Caddyshack. But I will take risers. And yes, my first riser on the list, the first guy I want to mention, and he was the first name I put down when I started thinking about this for the show today, because I've covered several of his games and I love what he does. The phrase that I have used, if you've heard it on the broadcast several times, is this young man, is the engine that drives his team. And that is Norman Nations of Lakeshore Drive. He is the number 66 ranked overall, and that's a composite ranking between all the rankings, so we're just going to use that composite number for the show today. But he's 66th overall. I think that's going to jump by 20, maybe 40 spots before this is all done. Nations is averaging 17.7 points a game. He's pulling down 3.9 rebounds, dishing out 3.7 assists. And, for a pretty decent Lakeshore Drive team that is young but scary, they've blown some people out. When they look good, they look really good. They're 4-3 on the year. A decent team, and it really is Norman Nation's team. And the young man from South Holland, Illinois, 6'3" point guard, shooting guard, combo guard, really has looked good this season. You know what I didn't talk about? He's been efficient with all of this too. So leading scorer, top assist guy, but he's shooting above 50% from the field, and he's even shooting better from deep. He's hit 11 threes, and he's shooting almost 58% on those. So Norman Nations, I don't know if he's going to be in the top 10, top 20, but he's going to be a hell of a lot higher than number 66 where he stood at the start of this season. So that is my first one, Big Bob. Did he hit your list? Let's turn it over to you for risers.
He did not hit my list, but I'm not going to argue against it. I mean, when you look at that team, I don't think Norman Nations was the name that anybody would expect to say he was going to be the leader of that team. And that's nothing against him, but they had Drake Harvell coming in. Yeah. And Drake Harvell was volume shooter, but he was still on that team, was the most talented. At least we thought he was the most talented coming in. He's not having a great season. He's only averaging 10.4 points a game. Norman Nations is, I'm going to say almost doubling it, doubling his points. And yeah, no, definitely. If it wasn't for Norman Nations, I don't know if Lakeshore Drive would have 4 wins right now.
Yeah, he might be looking more 1-6, 2-5 kind of scenario without Nations. He's been great. He's been great.
For sure. Well, no, so there we go. We that's one that isn't on my list, but I will go with the first one that came to my mind, and I don't want to bring him up because I know it's going to go to his head. at all.
Bronny James. Are you going to say Bronny James is underrated?
Absolutely not. But I am going to say, me, Benari James is the first name that comes to mind for me when it comes to risers. At this time, his composite ranking, which for those of you that don't know, that is a combination of all three rankings, 247, SimWorld Sports, and ESPN. So Benari James is ranked 84th, and he is averaging 18.8 points per game right now. And I feel, and it's a little disrespectful, I think, that I picked him over his teammate, but I tried to keep it, I'm trying to keep it to one player per team, but his teammate, I'm going to take 4. I'm picking 4 risers. I don't care. I'm going to throw his teammate on there. Johan Novajovic, right? Did I get it right? I think.
Yeah, Johan Novajovic. Yeah, Novajovic.
He is unranked right now. He is not on anybody's radar, and he's averaging 18 points a game. So on top of his 18 points, Benari James is 18.8 points. They're two players that I was not expecting to be where they are right now. When I say that, statistically speaking, I didn't expect them to be where they are. Indy Stripes, they only have 2 wins. But with their offensive output, I expect them to win. I expect them to win a couple more games.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, I can't disagree with any of your take here at all. I got to say, I mean, Benari James is kind of the Norman Nations of the Indy Stripes, right? You know, if you took Benari James out of Indy, it's hard to know what their identity would be. Yeah. He is definitely a focal point that way. And that he's 84th, that's absurd. He should be moving up. But I really can't knock any of your comments about, Noah Jovic. He's been great. And if we wanted to, there's other people too. You could talk about Jay Luce. Yep. Now he's only averaging 8.4, but he's shooting the ball really well, contributing. And, for that matter, I think, Kirby Ordway, double-digit scorer, shooting the ball lights out. There's actually a lot of players on this Indy Stripes roster who statistically have put up kind of nice seasons. It makes you sort of wonder, actually, how are they only 2 and 3 on the year with these players?
I will answer that for you, and it's an easy answer. Their defense sucks.
Yeah, well, you're actually right.
They are ranked 32nd in opponents' points per game, opponents' field goals per game, 31st in opponents' 3 points per game. Forced turnovers per game, 30. Their defense is just horrendous, but offensively they're there. Like, they're averaging the 3rd most points per game. If you're averaging the 3rd most points per game, you should be more than 2 and 3. Well, unless you're giving up the most, I suppose. There you go. You're giving up the most. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
It makes Indy a fun. Javad Storm, Coach Javad Storm's side is a fun one to watch, though. Usually a track meet. So
absolutely. Well, I know. Well, I kind of cheated. I picked 2.
You did. No, that's okay, though. I like you. Actually, I really love that you mentioned Novajovic there because, again, the last game I called for Indy, he won the game single-handedly. He came out, he was just determined, and he did it. So that's okay. No, you got one, you snuck one in there, but that's okay. And the best part is we still haven't named any of each other's players. I'll move on to my second riser. And I thought this is one that could appear on your list too, but the second riser, this guy is unranked, but he is also the owner of the first and so far only triple-double in SimWorld history, and that is Blaine Kidd, the Californian playing for SimWorld Atlantis. And you probably remember him best from the opening, might have been opening night. It was the opening week. It was the first game of the year for Atlantis, and Blaine Kidd came out, recorded a triple-double. Now, you're not going to keep up that pace, not in a SimWorld game where there's 32 minutes to be played, and you're lucky if you get 25 of them. But, Kidd is still averaging over 15 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, and almost 7 assists. I mean, for somebody, and he is not the team's point guard either. He slides over to that spot, but I think that assist number is really something that stands out to you. And, if Kidd was just kind of doing this and Atlantis was getting beat by 15, 25, 30 points every night, maybe be like, all right, you're just kind of a ball hog, stat stuffer kind of guy, whatever. But SimWorld Atlantis, completely loved and respected by nobody at the start of this year. They are 3-3. They are a 500 team, and they actually play it not too badly. And Blaine Kidd, he hasn't been doing it exactly by himself. You've got, you've got the really talented Israelis on Atlantis, like Nathaniel Zilberman, for instance, really good, and also Mickey Hartman. But really, Blaine Kidd, he's been the story there. He has single-handedly won them a game or two, and he's unranked.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not going to last. No. I'm not even going to say where I think he belongs necessarily, but I know he belongs in the top 100 players in this game.
Yeah, and again, he is not on my list. He was not one of the first names that came into my mind, but it is a great pick. He is definitely being unranked. I will be surprised if he's not within the top 50 when it's all when it comes to whatever time tomorrow.
Yes, right. Whenever it comes out tomorrow, we don't have any insight on that, folks. So you gotta wait and just see when it drops, like everybody else.
Yeah, but also on that team, though, you didn't mention him. I do think he's going to be up there with Kidd, and that's Theophilus Hilton. He's averaging himself 15.2 points per game. He's one from the team record right now. He's 1 3-point away from being tied for most 3 points on the team.
Yeah,
They are a 3-point shooting team, though.
They are. I mean, Hilton, Kidd's a guard. Hilton's a fairly sizable wing. He's a 6'5" player out there, but obviously, gets it done both inside and outside with his game. I definitely like Hilton. Hey, I like SimWorld Atlantis. I've enjoyed calling their games when I've got that chance to, and hopefully we'll get some more again. They're just fun.
Yeah, no,
Atlantis versus Indy would be a good matchup, actually.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. So at this time, we've named 4 players total, we both have a riser left. Who's your last riser, Bob? Well, no, I still have 2. I am not counting Johan on mine. I am not counting him on mine.
You're right. No, you're right. I jumped the gun.
You jumped the gun a little bit.
Who's your second official riser?
My second official riser, and it's I like him a lot. He is a returning player from the Ground Zero season. His team is not necessarily doing great right now, and that's an understatement. They are doing very bad, and it's a shame because they have a bunch of good, solid players. I don't know where the hiccup is on this team, but my pick for a riser, it has to be Brian Webb. He has done. At this time he is only ranked 47th in the composites, and to me, he's a top 25 player. He is doing everything that he possibly can do to help this Heartland Zombies team get wins. They're 1-5 right now. He's the number 3 scorer in all of SimWorld Hoops, averaging 22 points a game. He's the leader on the team with 6 3-pointers made, and he's just. I think he is one of those players that no matter what the score is, whether they're winning by 20 or losing by 50, he is giving you 150%. And I think that him on this team, I know they're 1-5. But again, they have some solid pieces. They need some other offensive threats on the team to step up. I think once players like Renzo Bryant get their feet a little more wet, that we can see a turnaround for this Heartland Zombies team. I mean, Coach Skinny Washington, when he came in, he's not giving up on this team, unlike Coach J6 did last year. Coach Washington is not giving up on this team, and although they're 1-5 now, I can see a late run down the road to see them slide into that race to 1.
Yeah. No, I love that. I loved Brian Webb last year. I really liked him as a 16-year-old, and he's just better this year.
Yeah.
I didn't pick him out to call him out on this show today, but again, I can't disagree with any of that at all. And, there's just something about the kid's game. Hey, I've mentioned this before when I've been calling his games, on SimWorld TV, but I'll say it again now. Fine, I'm the old timer around here. I got the long-term basketball memory to throw back in. I remember some random stuff. But for you basketball historians and aficionados, Brian Webb reminds me so much of a guy named Damon Bailey. Damon Bailey was an Indiana high school legendary player, about Webb size, like 6'4" or whatnot, but would almost play in the paint. He would get down and figure out ways to score inside like Webb does, but can also take it outside and shoot. Damon Bailey went on to play for Indiana University, was a Hoosier, was a good college player as well. He could have and should have played pro, but like happens to a lot of guys, he blew his knees out. That was that. So, if you're a Brian Webb fan, get on YouTube and find some old Damon Bailey videos. I think you'll see what I'm talking about. But he literally is one of my favorite players, Webb, and I'm really glad you brought him up for that reason, Bob. That's a great second name to throw out there. So, well, I guess I'll take the ball back in my court because I have one more riser. We both have one more riser to throw out there. For my last riser to mention, and I don't know if this is somebody who I expect to make a big, crazy jump. In fact, I don't. I wanted to mention him because I think it's a great example of somebody who started the season unranked. Maybe he's not the biggest name that gets talked about in SimWorld Discord or something like that, but super solid player who I think should claw his way into the top 100. Going to the Rocky Mountain Monsters, and I'm calling out Justin Bell. 6'6", left-hander. He's kind of an undersized big for Rocky, is really sort of the role he plays, even though he's not huge, even at the SimWorld level at 6'6", 215. But if you look at his numbers, he's playing about 20 minutes a game for a 5-1 Monsters team. Let's not forget that either. Your team success that you're contributing to should count here, I think. Averaging 10.5 points, pulling down about 2.5 rebounds, but shooting 61% from the field and hitting 50% of his threes. And he's made 6 of them. It's not like, I took 2 threes and one of them accidentally went in. He can actually shoot from out there. I'm impressed. I'm just impressed with what I've seen from Justin Bell. And to make a comparison, another player on Rocky, kind of actually plays a similar role for them. Really, is Lucas Banks, left-hander, 6'8". He's the 75th ranked player going into the season, and I think Lucas Banks will stay about where he is. He's averaging 12.5 points. He's pulling down 4 rebounds. He's shooting the ball really well, too. I think Lucas Banks is probably about where he belongs. And I think Justin Bell should be about up there with him. So that was kind of the comparison I wanted to make there just on the team itself. But, the truth is there's probably a couple dozen Justin Bells out there. You know what I mean? Like I could have picked different guys. No disrespect to Justin too. Actually, I really like him, and I'm I picked him for a reason here. But he is kind of the representative, the vanguard of this group of guys out there, who have maybe overperformed a little bit relative to at least what people were thinking about. And lots of kids out there like Bell who maybe didn't stand out and shine or came in too late to really make a name for themselves during the preseason, but look at what they're doing when the games count. And 5-1 Rocky Mountain coach Josh Robinson out there, I know is happy that he has Justin Bell.
For sure. And I think that's a very good pick. And I can't believe that we are going to go through an entire set of our own little rankings here. And
we get to talk about 3 fallers next, Bob. So we're not done yet.
That's true, and we're probably gonna. I'm sure we'll cross there, maybe.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Justin Bell. Justin Bell is a great choice. Like you said, him and Lucas Banks are very similar players. Outside of Lucas Banks not being a 3-point shooter, but no, Rocky Mountain just from top to bottom. That is, in my opinion. I feel like I say this a lot, or at least I think it a lot, is I think the Rocky Mountain Monsters are like the Clippers from a couple years ago, where there was no huge name. Like, again, I love Kenneth Gaffney. I think he is I would say, if I was picking one of the best, just pure point guards in SimWorld Hoops, Kenneth Gaffney is in that argument for me. But they just have a bunch of guys that do their job and do their job well.
Yeah. That's right.
But no, so for my final riser pick, I think this is going to be my 18th player that I've picked so far. I am going to have to go with Kadarius Loftus from the Originators. He is right now, he is sitting at 64 in the composite rankings. He's averaging 14 points a game, but he is tied for three pointers made with 19 at number 2. So I don't know if anybody's going to touch Abdul Rahman from Middle East with his 25 right now. But Kadarius Loftus right now, when it comes to shooting, he is tied with Trey Turner and Ireland Early. And those are two names that if you want to be tied to anybody when it comes to shooting, those are two names that you probably want to be tied to.
Agreed.
Agreed. And Loftus, every now, they do have DJ Wagner there, but
of course,
but I think he's the beneficiary of teams focusing on Wagner, and Wagner isn't a player who is going to continuously force, even though teams are focusing on him, he's going to look for his teammates. And that teammate that is benefiting from all that focus on him is Kadarius Loftus, and I expect to see Kadarius Loftus move up from that 64. I think he's a great shooter. Sucks for Gotham 5 that they lost him, but what Gotham 5 lost is the Originators gain, and he's doing big things for the Originators right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, he holds his own in that backcourt with DJ Wagner. I mean, and that's where the Originators, kind of a dangerous team, 5-1 on the year. And when you look at that Wagner-Loftus backcourt, particularly with, as you're saying, Loftus playing as well as he's been playing of late, shooting just about 60% on threes. I mean, he's been more accurate from deep than even DJ himself has. And then you take somebody else from the Originators who could rise up a couple ticks too, and that's big Viktoras Ilgauskas, the 7-footer in the paint. Not a huge scorer, but averaging about 8 points and 8 rebounds per game, almost 3 blocks per game. I mean, just a defensive force. I like this team, but I think that you're right that without Loftus, it's hard to say where scoring other than DJ Wagner would come from for this team, and that would make them easier to game plan for, easier to defend against, and presumably easier to beat, which only one team has managed to do so far this year. I think that we have a mutual appreciation society going on for our rising picks. Now fallers. Maybe I'll let you throw out the first faller, Bob. So let's flip it over to the dark side, if you will. Who is going to drop like a stone in the rankings tomorrow?
I'm going to take the low hanging fruit, and I am going to go with Mackenzie Mbako. I don't know why I always struggle. Mbako, yeah. I'm going to take that low-hanging fruit because he has just not played well this season. I don't know what the issue is. Again, I think it could be maybe it's a confidence standpoint. Maybe he was playing out of position a little bit and just didn't feel comfortable playing as a wing. But he has so much talent, and that is what this rankings are. While they are about the statistics, they're also about talent, and that's why he was ranked as high as he was heading into the season. His talent is almost unmatched. He's top 5 talent in SimWorld Hoops, period. But that's not translating on the court right now. And his composite ranking of 2 is just way too high for him at this point in the season. I think that down the road, he may be able to pick that up a little bit. And again, I'm saying he's going to fall. I think he's going to fall a lot. Not saying that he's not talented, but he's just not putting it together on the court. I mean, I don't know if I can even say he's a top 3 player on that team right now. When they have Majera Williams doing what he's doing, he's a great shooter. When you have Keon Anthony doing what he did at the beginning of the season, that if he wasn't 15 years old, he'd be starting right now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think Mackenzie is going to drop a lot. I think he's going to drop outside of the top 25 personally. And again, talent's there, but it's not being seen on the court right now.
Yeah, I think you're probably right with all of that. I'm not sure if he'll fall the top 25 so quickly because, again, the promise and the potential is still there. And I will say that for myself, I'm not worried about the kid's future. He's gonna be great. I mean, he's 6'9", and he has guard skills, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's Magic Johnson, but I'm saying he can probably play two guard at the next level, and that's going to be a matchup nightmare for other teams out there. So I do like Mbako. Obviously, he has to drop. Again, that's just for sure. If he didn't, there would be something kind of wrong. But yeah, I don't think he'll drop too far, just because he does still have all of that potential. It is still early enough in the season where people can see him kind of coming back. But I think he'll be right around number 25 personally. But if he drops some more, I got to say, wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me. So, well, my first faller is going to bring things a little bit full circle to my first riser. I talked about Norman Nations on Lakeshore Drive, and I think that the ascension of Nations has come at the expense, ranking-wise at least, of Drake Harvell. Drake Harvell started this season number 16 in the composite rankings, and he's a SimWorld veteran. He played last year and was one of the great players in the league last year, no doubt about it. But this year, I think he's facing two things. First of all, he switched from basically being more of a shooting guard last year to taking over a more point role with Lakeshore Drive, and credit to him for adjusting that way. And then the second adjustment, of course, is he's got Norman Nations on the team, and he's been deferring to him, to the tune where Harvell, although he is still the second option on Lakeshore, averaging just 10.4 points, 2.7 rebounds, and is averaging 3.3 assists. Look, Harvell is a good player still. He's going to go to a nice college. Don't worry about it. He's probably Big Ten bound. He's a good player, right? But I do think there's actually a lot here that is to his credit. If you're a coach, you probably like to see somebody who isn't afraid to, adjust their game even at the detriment of stats and rankings and all the rest of that to help your team win. Yeah. Lots of positives here, but he's not the number 16 player in SimWorld overall. I expect that to fall more toward the 30s, 40s, 50s kind of number, at least, for Drake.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I know I had mentioned him a little bit earlier when we were talking about them, but yeah, he's just not doing it this year. And I expected him to be up there with Caden Shipp, just because of what they both were doing last season. But Drake Harvell just, maybe he's lost his confidence because Norman Nations came in and has really taken over the team. And I don't have an answer for what he is going through right now, but I hope for his sake that he, like you said, he's gonna go somewhere good. He's gonna do whatever he does at the college level. No one's gonna, just because he's down a little bit right now doesn't mean all the scholarships are gonna go away. But just right now, he's not looking like himself at all. And if they really want to succeed this season, he's going to have to learn how to play well with Norman Nations. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to go with, it's probably another, I think it's another low hanging fruit. And I think I'm going to, I blame the coach more on this player personally. He's already dropped some. He is a little bit higher in one of the three rankings that we have. I believe he's still listed in the top 10 and 1, but Reza Red has not played to the level that I expected him from the preseason. And again, I am going to put that on Coach Storm. As much as we can put him putting Benari James and Johan, in good position to succeed. I don't think he's doing a good job with Reza Red, putting him in position to really succeed. I think that he is a player, despite his age, he needs to be out there on the court for the majority of the game. They need to find a way to get him out there because he is super athletic for his size. He's 6'10", 235. He's huge. Super athletic for his size. And I just think, get past the growing pains. I know something that it can stunt some people's development whenever they're younger. You put them out there. But at his size, I think you need to risk it. Risk it for the biscuit, baby. I think Reza Red needs to be on the court more, but I do think he's going to fall. He's 43 right now, and that's mainly because of his high ranking. I believe it's in 247 Sports. I think that, let me double check that. Yeah, he's still 10th in 247 Sports rankings. If it wasn't for that, he would not be 46th right now, but 43rd right now, sorry. But yeah, I expect him to be another player that eventually turns it around because he's given the opportunity to turn it around. But yeah, he's statistically, he has not been where I expected him to be this year.
Yeah, I kind of agree too. I mean, he has all the talent in the world. Just 15. We have to emphasize that point, underline it, put it in bold. He's going to get better. And at the same time, Coach Storm, Indy, they're protecting him probably a little bit too. You don't want to get him out there and have him, beat up by the big Victorious Ilgauskises of the world and whatever else when you're not ready for it. But I really like Reza Red. I really like Reza Red. Yeah. And I'm really convinced that his ranking should drop. Not out of the top 100, probably. Yeah. but yeah, it should absolutely take a fall. And look, if there's probably a legitimate point to be made here that it's not so much that Reza Red is going to fall down the rankings because he isn't as good as advertised. He's going to fall down the rankings because we just had him ranked too high. Yeah. He's doing fine. But we just kind of have to recalibrate our expectations based upon the reality we're seeing out there on the court, I think. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Well, I'll take the mic back here.
One more each. We both got one more.
No, I have two, Bob.
I have
two.
Oh, that's right. I went first.
You went first. See, we both jumped the gun on that one. You have one more. I got two.
I have one more.
But let me catch up. My next name to throw out here, and this one I thought there was a chance we could both have him listed, but maybe not. I know you still got your one left. I guess we're going to find out. My next faller is the number 15 overall ranked recruit, Queen City Kings point guard Norvell DeJean-Jones. Huh. Another SimWorld veteran, just like Drake Harvell I just talked about, was great last year, ranked all the year last year. Queen City, then known as Charlotte, was, a dangerous team, and he was a big part of it. And he's come out this year, and he's playing almost the entire game. He's playing 27 minutes a game. And on the surface, you look at some numbers here, and you're like, not so bad. 15.5 points a game, leading the team. That's pretty good. 4.5 assists. That's all right. It's not. There's other numbers which prove it's not. Norvell is shooting less than 40% from the field. He's far worse from three, where he's only shooting 28% from deep. And it's not that he's not taking shots from out there either. He's not even hitting his free throws. 61% from the free throw line. Just offensively, something's going on. He has the yips. He doesn't look right out there. And the biggest number that goes against him, Queen City Kings are 1-5 on the season.
Yeah.
And, and it's not because they keep on getting screwed by the refs and losing on buzzer beaters. They are just out of joint, and he's the quarterback of this team. Yeah. And a lot of that falls on you when that's the case. I don't know. I don't know what they do to get him straightened out. I don't know what your perennial coach of the year favorite, Dara Simmons, can do to correct this, Bob. But I don't know. They just added Anthony Council. He's not necessarily a great pure passer like Norvell DeJean-Jones is, but he is a good athlete. Maybe you give him some run out there. Norvell DeJean-Jones he's starting to remind me a little bit of somebody we might remember from the Philly Stars last year, Brian Summers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
He's got some nice surface-looking numbers, but, boy, you drill down a little bit, and the metrics underneath are ugly. He should remain ranked, but I'd expect him to drop from 15 to at least 50th. And we'll see. We'll see if he still does have that 15.5 points per game. He's still filling up the bucket. Maybe the rankings and the voters will get a little bit confused by that. But Norvell should drop like a stone, in my opinion. So I wanted to call him out on the show today.
I can't believe you disrespected him so much by putting him in the same category as Bryson Summers. Oh, man.
Hey, he's shooting Bryson Summers-y numbers. So, shoot Summers numbers, earn Summers talk, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to agree with you. I don't think he's going to fall as far as you think he's going to, but I don't
think he's going to either, but he ought to.
He is the leader of this team. This team lives and dies by him, and they are dying right now. Who I thought should have won Coach of the Year last season, I don't know if he's going to be coaching by the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't.
If they keep this up, I don't know. Just they're not doing it anywhere on the court. They're offensively, they're not there. Defensively, they're not there. They have Norvell Dejan Jones averaging that 15.5 points per game, and nobody else averaging double digits. There's just nobody, and like with your Summers comparison, like Summers was putting up points, but they weren't doing anything with those points.
Yep.
And he just, I felt bad.
That song sounds familiar. Yeah.
I felt bad for Philly. I felt bad for Summers because I really thought at some point he was going to turn it around, and he never did. I expect Norvell Dejan. I always expect them to turn it around. I expect him to get back on the right track. I mean, he did. He's not facilitating the way that he did last season. I think he set the SimWorld Hoops record in the Ground Zero season with 12 in a game. We're not seeing that from him.
No.
And that's what made him so good. Along with Kenneth Gaffney, Norvell Dejan Jones was probably my top pure point guard coming into the season. And
couldn't argue with that.
Yeah, and he just is not, he's not there right now. And I hope that they can figure it out. If a coaching change is what needs to happen, then that's what needs to happen. But yeah, I can't disagree with you. I want to disagree with you because I like him so much, but I can't disagree with you that he's going to fall.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, last chance, Bob. See if we can name the same person or not. I'll let you throw out your final faller before we give it to me to wrap up.
I'm going to say we're not going to have the same final one. So for me personally, I was so high on this kid in the preseason. Jetson Holiday III for Cascadia. I really expected him to. I thought that he was going to come into this team and be the leader of this team, and he is. He's not. Obviously, they have Jason. they have Jason Tata. They have Montel Cage now. I really expected Jetson Holiday III to be the guy for this team, and he is playing. He's playing like he's probably not going to be starting much longer. I think they're going to have to give somebody else a chance until he figures it out. He is the second leader. No, he's not. He's the third leader on the team in 3-pointers made. But I think they need to throw Chris Owens. They need to throw Chris Owens in or something. Give him a chance to show something at small forward. But yeah, I mean, Jetson Holiday has been a huge disappointment to me this season. I don't know what I expected, but I was wrong. I was wrong. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm wrong sometimes, except when it comes to Bronny James. But yeah, Holiday is sitting at 34 right now in the composites, and he is one that if he is still within the top 100, I will be surprised.
Yeah, that's that's a name I haven't heard of or thought about in a long time, and I guess that kind of says it all right there, doesn't it? And he too, I knew who he was. He was on my preseason radar, but I literally don't think I've thought of that name since.
Yeah.
And wow, I mean, that's going from famous to nobody faster than William Hong did it, if anybody remembers him. So yeah, wow, okay. I know, I like that. That's a good one to close on. And you're right, Bob. Somehow we got through one of these and we named 6 different players each, our own dirty dozen. Well, half of them are clean, half of them are dirty, and they're fallen. But we managed not to name the same players, which is quite remarkable. But let me close the show by naming my last faller. And my last faller, I wanted to name somebody who will be going from ranked to completely out of the top 100, and deservedly so.
Brodie James.
What? No, but I am taking it out to California, naming one of the Cali squads here, and it's Bay Area Breakers, and it's Curtis London, yet another SimWorld veteran. We've seen him in moments last year and even this year display what are true 3-and-D kind of skills, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what pro teams are always looking for. 6'5" player who can splash from outside and will lock you down on D. And you know what? Bay Area Breakers, absolutely loaded squad, right? Like everybody's preseason favorite, all this talent on there. It wasn't like I was expecting Curtis to come out and play 25 minutes a game and, just be a stat monster. But what he's doing is he's playing 14 and a half minutes a game. He's scoring a little bit over 4 points. And I could even kind of forgive all that because he does play good defense, and he's a good sort of rotation component to have out there, and I do think he can have a college future. But much like last year where he struggled, his shot's off.
Yeah.
42% from the field, 27% from your 3-point sharpshooting specialist. That's not getting it done.
No.
That's your big man that's learning to shoot from outside kind of numbers. It's really disappointing. Curtis London came into the season 44th ranked overall. Look, obviously he was overrated. I think probably coming into this was living a little bit off of last year's results and this year's promise, maybe too much. I can't see him staying in the top 100. I think he goes from 44th to unranked. There will be other guys out here like this, much the same way that Justin Bell closed off my risers, because there's going to be plenty of guys who were unranked to ranked, and he's one example. I'm using Curtis the same way, but Curtis is going to be a notable drop, and I think he might even be the biggest, just raw number up that you see of anybody, or move in one way or direction or another that you might see of anybody out there. Curtis London is going to go from 44th to unranked, or at least he should, in my opinion, folks.
Yeah, he was one of those players who last season, when we had the senior and junior rankings, in the junior rankings, he was always there somewhere, because we always expected more of him.
Yeah.
And I think he strictly seemed to run on promise, and it just he never really got to where we expected him to. And
he's still living off it. He's still living off that promise this year, reputation and ranking wise. And I think it's time everybody's eyes were fully opened. He is who he is.
Yeah, it's time for him to actually earn his ranking. So him falling out of the top 100, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't argue it. He's just, and especially in such a talented, heavy team. Right now he's the 8th worst shooter on the team, and that's only because they just brought in Jimmy King, who's shooting 0% because he hasn't shot a single bucket yet because he's new. Outside of him, the only player worse on that team shooting wise is Blake Gillenwater. And if you said who, that's exactly.
Well, I expect Jimmy King to do great things. Now, granted, he hasn't played high level ball since when he was with Michigan for the Fab Five back in the 90s, but I think he'll thrive at this level. I just do.
You think maybe a 50-year-old man or a 60-year-old man coming and playing with these young kids?
yeah, sure. Just get old. We will just get old like college stars who never quite made it. We'll have like Jimmy King, Khalid El-Amin, other kind of players out there doing their thing. It'll be a lot of fun.
I don't think Jimmy King's going to get the reference. He's only 15. He wasn't even alive.
I know. Hey, look up the Fab Five. Jimmy King. You know what? I actually like Jimmy King. Jimmy King was all right. I got nothing bad to say about Jimmy King. Both Jimmy Kings.
There you go.
Little new Jimmy King and old Jimmy King. So.
Well, I'm still kind of mind blown that we didn't have anybody cross on our paths. And we didn't really disagree. Yeah. We, again, didn't disagree with each other.
I really don't. Yeah, I loved your picks, Bob, to tell you the truth.
And yours too.
Now, well, it goes to show, look, there's going to be a lot of movement when these new rankings come out. There's going to be a lot to dig into. There's going to be a lot to talk about. We have just scratched the surface today. Monday should be a fun one on Discord. And want to remind everybody, if you're not on our Discord and you're listening to this, first of all, how did that happen? But secondly, if it did, discord.gg/SimWorld NBA. Get your friends, get your family, get your mom and ex-girlfriends, and come join us there.
Well, before we wrap this up, I do want to, because looking through while we're talking, we're always looking through we're just looking through stuff. So is there any team, and I'm kind of surprised that neither of us had certain players on the list. Is there any player that we didn't mention today that you think should get some recognition?
Oh, I think there's a ton of them.
Give me one, or give me a team that you think there's going to be a big change in. I'm trying to lead you in a certain.
All right. Yeah. No, I like it. I like anything positive. And look, I would say the example that comes to mind, and I talked about him earlier because, I already talked about Justin Bell, Rocky Mountain Monsters. Overall, they need to go up. I mean, you got Daquan McDougal there, who's already very high ranked and deserves that high ranking. But, maybe another good example of Ireland Early.
Oh, yeah.
Ireland Early is, kind of the B version of Trey Turner right now. And maybe the B plus version. He's not far off that. Shooting the ball absolutely lights out, contributing to a 5-1 team. I think the Rocky Mountain Monsters overall, right? If there was a team average ranking, you're going to see them go up for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think an entire team, this is an entire team of unranked players, which blows my mind. Not a single player on this team is ranked. SimWorld South America. I can't believe that I did not think of Patricio Ramirez. Last season, I believe he finished in the top 5 of our international, when we had all that stuff separate. I believe he was a top 5 international player at the end of the season, and unranked this season. There's, again, not a single player on this team that is ranked, and you have Patricio Ramirez, Adelson Sampaio.
Yeah, Sampaio. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike, they have a solid. Again, I'm gonna run this into the ground. It's like the Clippers from a couple years ago. They just have a bunch of guys. Right. they have a bunch of players doing their job and not complaining, and that's how you win games. Just across the board, they're an average team across the board. But when average teams do their job, they're great teams. Yeah. And I can't believe that neither of us had brought up Patricio Ramirez, and I just wanted to make sure he got his recognition.
Fair enough.
We are getting close to this being way too long. So, do you have any final words for the people, Eric?
No, this has been a long episode, but again, it goes to show there's going to be so much to talk about. There's going to be so many people super happy with their new shiny ranking, and so many ticked off. So it should be a fun Monday, fun week, and looking forward to get back to action on SimWorld TV with the real games too.
Absolutely. I appreciate you as always, Eric. I appreciate you guys all listening. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.